I need you to stop for a moment and really hear this. That thing you are working so hard for right now, the money, the status, the recognition, the security, whatever it is you believe will finally make everything click into place. It is not going to give you what you think it will. My name is Franklin. I am 80 years old, and I spent 40 years of my life running in a direction that felt completely right and turned out to be completely wrong. 40 years, more than half my life on this earth. So sit with me for a few minutes, because what took me 4 decades to understand, I am going to try to hand to you right now. Just maybe you will not lose as much time as I did. We all carry a version of the same story. We all say it to ourselves in different words, but it is always the same story. I will finally relax when I get the raise. I will finally enjoy life when the kids are grown. I will finally be happy when people stop doubting me. I will finally feel free when the mortgage is paid off. I told myself that story my entire adult life. And you know what happened? I got the raise, the kids grew up, people stopped doubting me, the mortgage was paid, and I was still waiting, still telling myself the next thing would be the thing. The finish line kept moving. Every time I thought I was close, I looked up and it was further away than before. 40 years chasing a line that was never going to stop moving. Let me tell you something about where I came from, because it matters to understanding everything else. I grew up in a small town where your family name told people how much you were worth, and my family name did not carry much weight. My grandfather cleaned other people's buildings his whole life, showed up before dawn, left after dark, never complained. And people were polite to him the way you are polite to furniture. Like he was there but not really there. I was maybe 9 years old when I understood what I was watching, and something in me made a decision that I did not even know I was making. I was not going to be invisible. I was going to be someone that people could not ignore. I was going to build something so solid that no one would ever look through me the way they looked through my grandfather. So that is what I did. I worked in a way that most people around me simply would not. I was at the office before anyone arrived, and I left after everyone was gone. I missed birthdays. I missed my daughter's first school performance. I missed the slow, ordinary moments that turn out to be the ones you remember. But I was building something. I was becoming someone. By the time I was 55, I had everything I had set out to get. A business with my name on it. A reputation that preceded me into rooms. People asked for my opinion and actually listened. And I sat in my office one afternoon, the building quiet, the city visible through the window, and I felt something I was completely unprepared for. Nothing. Not satisfaction, not peace, not the feeling I had been promised by all that effort. Just a hollow, directionless quiet. Like I had solved a puzzle and found that the picture it made did not mean anything to me. It took me another 15 years to understand what had actually happened. 15 years, my daughter jokes that I am thorough. Here is what I finally understood. I was never chasing money. I was never chasing a reputation. Not really. I was chasing a feeling, the feeling that I was worth something, that my presence in a room mattered, that I was not invisible the way my grandfather had been invisible. That was the wound. That was what I was trying to heal. And I genuinely believe that if I achieved enough, if I stacked enough evidence of my worth, I would finally feel it. But you cannot heal that wound from the outside. You cannot earn your way to feeling worthy. The feeling I was after, I could have given it to myself at 30 years old. It did not require a single achievement. It only required a decision that I was already enough, that I had always been enough, that my grandfather had always been enough, regardless of what that town thought of him. I could have made that decision at 30. I made it at 75. That is 45 years of looking for something in the wrong place. My marriage told the same story from a different angle. I believe that taking care of my family meant providing for them, giving them stability, comfort, options. That was how I understood love. Through action, through building, through making sure the numbers worked. So I provided with everything I had. But my wife, Margaret, she told me something one evening that I have never forgotten. We were sitting at the kitchen table, nothing dramatic, just the two of us. And she put her hand on mine and she said, "Franklin, I know you love us. I have never doubted that. But sometimes I feel like I am married to someone who is always on his way somewhere else. Even when you are right here, you are somewhere else." I did not understand her. I thought being present meant being in the house. I was in the house. I was not traveling. I was not out with friends. I was right there. But I was not there. I was running calculations in my head, planning the next quarter, solving problems that had not happened yet. My body was at the table. My mind was somewhere I thought was more important. We worked through it. We built something real in the end, Margaret and I. But I think about the years we lost to that confusion. The years when she needed me to simply look at her, and I was looking past her at something I was convinced mattered more. Providing for someone and being present with someone are not the same thing. They feel similar from the inside when you are doing the providing. They feel completely different from the outside when you are the one being left alone in a crowded room. I have watched my friends age now for many years, and the difference between the ones who are at peace and the ones who are not has nothing to do with what they have. I know a man, George, 83 years old, still angry, still measuring himself against people who do not know his name. His neighbor bought a new car, and George mentioned it 3 times in one conversation. 83 years old and still keeping score, still waiting for something outside himself to finally declare him the winner. He is exhausted, and he does not know why. And then there is my friend Roy, 81, small apartment, fixed income, knees that give him trouble on cold mornings. Roy is the most genuinely content person I've ever known. He reads constantly. He asks questions like a young man, genuinely curious, genuinely interested. He told me once, sitting on his little balcony with a cup of coffee, he said, "Franklin, I spent most of my life trying to become something. Now I just try to notice what is already here. I cannot tell you how much better this is. That is the whole difference. Roy stopped chasing, not because he gave up, because he arrived. He arrived at the understanding that this moment, exactly as it is the place he was trying to get to all along. Real freedom is something most people misunderstand completely. They think it looks like abundance, like options, like security, like never having to worry. But the freest I have ever felt in my life had nothing to do with my bank account. It came on an ordinary afternoon when I realized that I did not need anything in that moment to be okay. That the opinion someone had of me was their business, not mine. That I could look at the man in the mirror, 80 years old, more gray than I expected, more tired around the eyes, and say without flinching, "That is me, and I am genuinely fine with that." Real freedom is internal. It is not needing the world to arrange itself a certain way before you allow yourself to feel okay. Most people never get there. They spend their entire lives making the freedom conditional. I will be okay when. I will relax when. I will finally enjoy this when. Here is what I want you to understand about fear, because this is the part that surprised me most. I always believed that fear was a response to circumstances, that if I could fix the circumstances, the fear would go away. So I worked to fix the circumstances. I built stability. I removed financial risk. I secured the future as thoroughly as I knew how. And the fear found something new to attach itself to every single time. The market, the health, the relationships, the world in general. Fear is not a circumstance problem. Fear is a relationship problem. It is about how you relate to uncertainty. And uncertainty does not go away. It is the permanent condition of being alive. The fear left me finally, not when my life became safer. It left when I decided I could tolerate not knowing, when I stopped needing the future to be guaranteed before I could rest. That is an inside job, completely an inside job. No amount of external success can do that work for you. Everything I spent 4 decades pursuing, the name on the building, the security, the recognition, none of it was actually what I wanted. What I wanted was to feel safe, to feel that I mattered, to feel that the people I loved were not going to leave. And I was searching for those feelings in accounts and titles and other people's approval. Those feelings were available to me the entire time. I did not need to earn them. I only needed to stop running long enough to notice they were already there. That sounds simple, I know it does. But I am 80 years old and I am still practicing it. Still catching myself on certain mornings, reaching for the old habits, the old scorekeeping, the old hunger. It is a practice, not a destination. Young people believe happiness lives at the end of something. I believe that for most of my life. But there is no end. You solve one problem and another takes its place. You reach one milestone and the next one is already visible on the horizon. That is not a flaw in the system. That is the system. That is life as it actually works. So if you are waiting for everything to settle before you allow yourself to be present, you will wait forever. The settling never comes. Something is always unfinished. Something is always slightly wrong. Something is always one step away from where it needs to be. The journey is not the path to the life. The journey is the life. right now, today, in whatever imperfect configuration your circumstances are currently in. This is it. This is the thing. Not when you close the deal, not when you pay off the debt, not when you finally get the acknowledgement you have been waiting for. Now, if you cannot find some peace on the way to where you are going, I promise you, you will not find it when you arrive. I have been to the arrival. I know exactly what it feels like. It does not feel like you think it will. So here is what I want to leave with you. Stop postponing yourself. Stop telling yourself the story that everything will be different when. That story is a very convincing lie. I believed it for 40 years, and all it gave me was 40 years of living slightly in the future instead of completely in the present. You are enough right now. Not when you prove it, not when enough people agree, not when your circumstances finally reflect it. Right now, exactly as you are, with everything unfinished and imperfect, and still in progress. You are already enough. You do not have to earn that. You only have to decide to stop arguing against it. I am 80 years old. I have made mistakes I cannot count, and chased things that were never going to give me what I needed. But the one thing I know with complete certainty is this: everything you are exhausting yourself looking for is already inside you. It has always been there. You just have to stop long enough to let yourself find it. If this reached something in you, share it with someone who is grinding themselves down, chasing something that will never make them whole. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What is your I will be happy when? What are you waiting for? And what would actually change if you decided right now that you were already enough? This is the final hours. Subscribe if you want more conversations worth having. Thank you for being here today.